Yo, good morning, good evening everybody, hi. I know you can see me, but that's fine, because I'm here. How was your day today? Or are you still working, guys? Let's see, everything should be fine. I am streaming on YouTube, everything is fine. You can hear me, you can see me. Perfect. I can see the chat as well. You're off tonight. Good for you. I'm off tonight as well. Or today. Wait, you can still see me, but my OBS says I had no connection for a second. I dropped like 92 frames. We're just gonna make some food and such. Make some for me as well, I'm hungry. Just kidding, of course. Are we ready for chapter 18 of Skydancer, the first flying unicorn, who is not called Skydancer at all. But he has 3 other names. Just 2, but sure. And knowing what's gonna happen. This is actually gonna stay the sound back, the background sound. So let's see. Let's lower this, so you can still hear it, just a little bit. It doesn't need to be empowered. But we are gonna start chapter 18 of Skydancer, the first flying unicorn. Liberation. Everyone, hang on! The doctor cried out. His companions tried to, but the violent rocking of the TARDIS made that difficult, not to mention the various explosions that happened around the machine. On top of that, the TARDIS was making mechanical wheezing sounds, and other weird sound effects that were not similar to the gang, thus strongly indicating something was gravely wrong. I cannot implicate those sounds, I cannot duplicate them, because I'm not a machine. What's wrong, what's happening, Doctor? The PS, frightened, as she was flung back and forth while desperately holding onto a rail near the console. In this case, she stood on the outside of the rail, looking in. We are caught in some kind of energy vortex, the Doctor announced, frantically as he desperately operating the controls in a hurry. Sometimes he had to latch onto controls to prevent himself from being flung away violently. More than once, he also had to shield himself with a leg. As the control console, I hate those 2 words next to each other, as the control console exploded in front of him with a shower of sparks. It's wreaking havoc with the time-space regulators that control the particle density accelerated matrix. Without those flow regulators working in proper sync, I'm having next to impossible time controlling the direction of the TARDIS. That happened before in the show as well. Is there anything you can do? The appears with very small eye pupils and scrunched in mouth due to fear. I'm trying, he promised frantically. He spun a monitor in front of him, then widened his eyes in shock when he saw what was on the monitor. Great samples and exploding pulsars! Everyone, hang on! We are going down! Featherwind did sort of the opposite. He tightly lifted himself and all of his companions, though it was difficult to rip Derpy and the Doctor away from that which they gripped. Featherwind scrunched his face tightly with intense concentration. He had every pony away from the floor as he waited for imminent impact which eventually happened. He shouldn't have lifted the doctor as well, because he could have softened the blow, but sure. He had no time, even though they were in the TARDIS. The TARDIS worked hard and spun in a circle several times around them. Every object in the TARDIS not secured to the ground somehow started flying all around them. At the same time, several explosions occurred that sponged a whole huge spiral of sparks. Seconds later, the entire area grew dark as the TARDIS finally settled onto something. The interior of the TARDIS was dark, except for the silver glow around each pulley, as Featherwind continued to hold them suspended in midair. Luckily, he can fly, or he can levitate, because if he couldn't, everyone would be spun around in the air. Because the center of levitation is himself. Since everything seemed to settle, however, he gently let them down. They replaced the glow around their bodies with a brighter glow around his own. Fortunately, the TARDIS was still right upside up. Considering how it spun about several times earlier, that seemed rather lucky. Then again, the TARDIS had its own artificial gravity, unless the circuit blew, which for the moment seemed rather likely. The TARDIS gave some groaning sounds, which clearly indicated the problem. Featherwind! Oh, what? Featherwind! Bright your light goes over here, the doctor requested. In response, Featherwind flew off the ground using his targeted magic and hovered closer to the doctor. With the silver light closer, the doctor started inspecting some of the controls and viewed out the monitor. Since some of the controls were temporarily not operating, he pulled out his sonic screwdriver from his pocket and started emitting the device back and forth on several controls. When he did so, some fires on the console vanished and other sparks got reduced. Doctor, isn't the emergency light supposed to turn on? The RP asked in concern as her eyes whirled. And where in the hell are we? Storming added. Clearly we crash landed on something, but what? Knowing this machine, we could be anywhere and anywhen. One thing at a time, the doctor encouraged. We don't even know if wherever we are is even habitable. Storming noted, then asked, is everybody alright? You don't have to step out of the TARDIS at this point, Starving. I am not too injured, Dappy reported. Just a little frightened is all. Vision, are you alright? She asked in concern as she looked at the young teenager, who didn't respond. Instead, she sat quietly on the ground and appeared to be meditating. She slept through the whole thing. Starving drew closer to Vision and gave a visual inspection. She also had hoof in front of Vision's muzzle. Since Vision was breathing so slowly, it was hard to tell, but eventually Starving realized the little filly was still breathing. She's alright. It doesn't appear to be injured, Starving reported. She might be meditating to find out what in blazes happened to us, or where we are. I recommend we let her continue because it might lead us to some answers. She looked at the doctor. How are you coming along, Doc? The doctor scratched his head with a hoof as he blew out a long sigh. This is a mess. All of these controls are going to have repaired. Wherever we are, we might be stuck here for a while. Not only that, but I won't be joining you out there because I need to remain here and fix everything. Right after he said that, the emergency lights finally turned on. He looked around in minor delight, then said, well, thank goodness for small favors, even if it's a bit delayed. They looked back at the control consoles in the center and pat it affectionately. The poor old girl is injured, but she is fighting to recover. He looked disturbed. Whatever knocked us out of the time-space wormholes, it's still causing the TARDIS to be sick. I fear that even if I repair the old girl, something might be preventing us from taking off. As long as the power source continues, we might be stuck here. So, in other words, a typical day in the TARDIS, Featherwind commented with a dry look and tone. Not exactly, but I have suffered through this before, the doctor returned. We will pull through this. I just know it. I will take a peek out the door See if I can get a layout of our situation. Sterling volunteered as she trotted over the door. Be careful, the doctor cautioned. I do not think the shield around the TARDIS is working right now. If the outside is poisonous gas or vacuum, we will not be protected as soon as you open those doors. Sterling scrubbed at the doctor over her right shoulder. Caution? Where have I ever been cautious? Sterling asked sarcastically, meaning the precise opposite of her statement. She was always cautious. I will just take a peek out of the window. If it seems relatively clear, then I will open the door crack. That's all. We need information, Doctor. You said something on this planet or moon or asteroid is interfering with the TARDIS. If we don't get some information, we might be stuck here till I add the plate. She has a good point, Doctor. Well, fine then. Just be careful. Doctor instructed. I don't have the situation well in hand yet. Hand? Federman reflected as he looked towards the doctor. Are you ever going to say, well in hoof? Never! The doctor announced in dramatic defiance. It's the principle of the thing. If I don't say such things, who will? Lyra will do that. Let me do that comment. What do you see? Federman called to his girlfriend, who arrived at the door. Peeking out through the window, and the only pony in the plot is tall enough to do so without standing up on her hind legs, or levitating. Sterling paused there for a while, as she tried to assess the situation outside, and announced, I can tell. Wherever we are, it's dark out there. I think we are on a planet of some kind. I see vague silhouettes of rocks and trees, but beyond that I can't tell. Trees? That repeated. That probably means there is oxygen out there. That likely means it's safe to open the doors. Not always. There shouldn't be trees in a vacuum. Federman agreed. Well, if they really are trees, Dr. Partial agreed as he pulled out some wires and examined it. Then scratched his head in an attempt to figure out where he should start at the beginning. Father Wind regarded Vision truthfully, who did indeed seem to be meditating. The young teenager was being very quiet now, obviously because she was meditating. Father Wind realized she had been quiet for quite a while too. Whatever was happening at the moment, she had the distinct impression that Vision saw this coming, but chose to keep her warnings to herself for some reason. At least no pony was hurt, so that didn't seem to be irrevocable damage so far. The doctor seemed relatively confident he could repair the TARDIS as well. Whatever the energy field out there was that was wreaking havoc with the time-space warp field was likely to be the greatest problem right now. Featherwind, can I borrow your horn for a second? Starwing requested politely. I need you to shine the light out there. Featherwind looked at her, then flew over to her gently. Sure, he said upon arrival. He waited patiently as he slowly grabbed the door open with a tight fist on her face. So, there we go. When she succeeded, it seemed that nothing bad happened so far, so she opened the door up further with greater confidence. Eventually, she had the door opened all the way. There appeared to be nothing dangerous out there so far. There was more light inside the TARDIS than outside, so she sidestepped and allowed her boyfriend to approach and shine a light outside. Featherwind did so. He configured his phone. It's like a machine. To emit a focused light in a cone in a forward direction, acting more like a flashlight rather than an all-around lantern. He swept the light back and forth outside while examining what was out there. So far nothing dangerous. As Starving said, it looked like an ordinary planet with rocks, trees and dirt ground. It was nighttime. The stars were out and so was singular, almost familiar moonlight, except it was more intense than their own home planet. Obviously, it had a Gosa moon. Featherwind stepped outside to continue his investigations. Starving followed him, but before she emerged more than halfway out of the TARDIS, Vision made an unexpected announcement. I'll meet you two out there soon, Vision announced aloud, while holding her meditation pose and keeping her eyes shut. Not that it mattered if they were open or shut in her case. Storming and Featherwing both paused and looked back at her for a second, then glanced at each other, each wondering what Vision actually knew about the situation. Eventually, Storming gave a casual shrug. After that, they both looked outward again and resumed their cautious exploration. How is it looking, Doc? Dappy asked fairly calmly, as she folded both of her forelegs on the rail, leaned on it, looking inward at him on the console. Right now, I'm still making heads or tails of the mess here. I may be punctual when I need to be, but right now, I can't even guess at that. Doctor answered. I'll let you know as soon as I do. In the meantime, could you check on the rest of the TARDIS, my lovely assistant? See if anything else is out of place? Sure thing, Doctor, Dappy said cheerfully, then left to do so. She gave an affectionate pat on Vision as she passed the young teenager. That's when Vision broke out of her meditation, because she disturbed her. Meanwhile, outside, Storming gasped. Wowee! Look at the moon! Featherwind did, then widened his own eyes. It really was the Equestria moon, pretty much exactly like it, except for two major differences. For one, it seems much bigger and closer, and two, there was no silhouette of Princess Luna. This was either before she was imprisoned up there, or after. This is Equestria, Featherwind announced. Judging from that moon, I say we are in the distant past. Very distant past. I read books and articles that theorize the moon used to be a lot closer in ancient times. How long ago do we think we are? Storming asked, mystified. I don't know. Featherwind looked around, aiming his beaming light back and forth, but it was a very long time ago. You see trees. Hopefully you are not in the Everfree Forest. Most of them jumped, startled, when the door of the TARDIS suddenly shut itself. They both whipped their heads back at it, as they grew horrified to hear a familiar groaning sound from the TARDIS, which indicated its ignition. The TARDIS was taking off, without them. Doctor, wait! Storming screeched and leaped back after the fading blue box. Too late. Well, goodbye! What the heck? Oh, okay. In fact, the TARDIS disappeared unusually fast this time. In this case, it only took 4 seconds. Storming usually fell right through the machine as it phased out of corporeal resistance. On the ground, she whined sadly. Doctor, come back! Don't leave us here! Despite how stunned Featherwind felt, he forced the moisture in his throat and said, I don't think he's doing this on purpose. Whatever is interfering with the proper operations of the TARDIS, that might be the driving thing. The thing driving the time machine away. Wiping a tear away, Storming rose up to her hooves and asked back at her boyfriend. Then what are we going to do? The doctor would definitely be aware of this problem by now. Featherwind said, here's a time machine. He will come back for us no matter how long it takes for him to fix this. You know, he would never abandon us on purpose. There's a possibility, however, that whatever drove TARDIS away in the first place is also preventing it from returning, no matter how much he wants to. Featherwind regarded Storming and said, Storming, calm down. We have been through tough scrapes before. Recall how many times we have been in dangerous situations and we thought we were going to die, but we kept on pulling through over and over again. Well, I'm not falling for that anymore. We'll be fine. We will just have to pull through and do our part while we wait for him. What if he doesn't come back? What if we are stuck here in this time? Storming asked nervously. I'm not saying the doctor wouldn't try to come back for us. I know him better than that a long time ago, but he might be unable to return, like you said. Then, it's up to us to search for what's keeping the TARDIS at bay and put a stop to it. Featherwind decided. Oh my god. I just realized. You didn't say it's this god, but we are pretty sure it's this god who is the other time traveler who is messing with them, and he actually notified them and warned them not to meet with him in the past. And they have a protection from him for a little bit while. And something capable of disrupting the TARDIS is driving it away at this point. I don't know if I'm onto something or not, but we will see. Just then, he heard a noise somewhere ahead of him. He aimed a beaming light from his horn ahead of him. It fell upon an emerging white pony, who looked quite familiar, but also different. It was a white pony, with hints of blue in the hide, and her mate. She was also blind. Vision? Stabbing exclaimed excitedly, as she happily pranced forward for a moment, until getting closer look, which made her suspicious. Wait a second. Vision? Is that really you? The pony in question did look like Vision, except she was much older. At that point, she was fine to her adult years. She even looked older than Starving or Featherwind. Okay, it makes sense. They went back in time and they waited until this time. Yes, it is me. The other version of Featherwind announced. I told you as we meet outside in a moment. But what happened to you? Starving asked in bewilderment. You are a future version of the Vision, aren't you? Featherwind asked you with educated guess. What's more, the younger version of you in the TARDIS saw this coming. She had been a bit too quiet lately, and she had information she didn't trust herself to express. Also, she told us, I will meet you two out there so soon. Then, lo and behold, you show up only a minute later. If she knew, we would encounter you instead of her. He shouted. Sort of, he amended. We just stopped in front of them and smiled fondly. You are as sharp as I remember, Featherwind. William sat down. Indeed, I had foreseen this coming in the past, and I knew I could not prevent it from happening. Though, I thought you told us you couldn't see into your own future, Starving reminded. Indeed, I could not. Vision confirmed. What's more, I also noticed I could not see into either of your futures, either, until past a certain point. That made me realize you must have interacted with the future version of myself, where my visions for the past would be blind to. I knew this was coming, not because of what I saw, but because of what I couldn't see. By process of elimination, I was able to deduce what would happen to you too. In that case, Featherwind began. Your past self would have not seen this coming in detail, but you are the future version of the pony who left the TARDIS. Based on your memories of what happened, is there any point in waiting in the TARDIS's return tonight? Stanley looked from her boyfriend to the other version of Vision, very concerned about the answer to that question. As you surmised earlier, there is a force blocking the TARDIS from returning, Vision informed. According to what I recall in the past, the TARDIS will return to pick you two up, but what took us few hours on the other side, I sense that many years passed for the two of you. Recall the fact that I was and still empathic. Enough to tell you too. The two of you felt a lot older when my past self finally did encounter you again. Featherwind and Starving stood there, stunned. Come with me, Vision requested as she stood up straight. He heard hoof glider ejected from extra-dimensional saddlebags. Featherwind, I will require your assistance to get up to the sky using these things just like old times. I will need you two to follow me. I will guide you to my home that I have set up during this time period. Oh, sure. Featherwind said numbly. Read that! The three of them took off into the sky, with Featherwind's assistance in Vision's case. This seems like a good spot to change the music. There we go. This seems like a good spot. Vision spontaneously declared, while the three of them were busy flying. Here? But there's nothing here, Featherwind pointed out. No visible home at any rate. Is it invisible? In a way, yes. Take me down. Well, for her it is invisible. Because she can see. This is gonna be a little bit loud. There we go. Featherwind glanced at Stormwing in uncertainty. In response to that look, Stormwing gave an unknowing shrug. Sure? Featherwind eventually finished, and guided the three of them to the ground. Island here! There is no home here! Stormwing pointed out. No home yet. Vision responded, then pulled off a suitcase from one of her saddlebags and tossed it on the ground. Upon landing, the suitcase ejected spikes to secure itself to the ground. At the same time, the suitcase opened and then inflated itself out of it. By the time it was done, it looked like a small cone-shaped tent, barely big enough for one pony. Well, obviously it's gonna be bigger on the inside. Madam, if the two of you will be kind enough to step inside, Vision said as she started trotting towards it. It's barely big enough for one pony, Stormwing complained. Stormwing, haven't you been traveling in the TARDIS for years now? It is bigger on the inside, isn't it? Featherwind danced with a dry look and tone in his voice, and they realized that it is not bigger in the inside, it's just a small little tent, and they have to keep up with it. Vision stopped as she suddenly looked a bit hurt. Then she passed that expression back to Featherwind's general direction. Don't you ever get tired of your brilliance spoiling surprises? This is coming from an oracle who sees into the future and can read other creatures' emotions. Featherwind reflected dryly, with a casual wave to the blind pony. Touché! Vision returned evenly, then proceeded into the tent. Featherwind looked at Stormwing and nodded towards the tent. Sorry, I hope that wasn't too loud. I hit the microphone with my hand. To indicate they should proceed inside, before he started doing so himself. Stormwing followed him in. I expected the interior of the tent was much bigger on the inside, though not quite as big on the inside as expected if it was compared to the TARDIS. The interior walls of the tent looked exactly like it did on the outside, except the interior space was dimensionally expanded. There weren't any other rooms either, it was just one area. Looking up, Featherwind could see the tent narrowing at the tip, just like a cone. Some shelves were hung on the inside wall. There were plenty of decorations and alchemical ingredients on those shelves. Vision herself went to the back of the tent and resumed stirring the contents of the giant iron cauldron, as she had done it a few minutes ago. How does this stuff not fall all over the place as it tumbles around in your suitcase, which was your saddlebag? Stormwing asked. Vision lifted up a spoonful of bubbling green glowing liquid from the cauldron and blew on it. After that, she said, "This tent has its own personal gravity field. What goes on the outside does not disturb the interior here. I probably didn't have to explain to you that this is the Time Lord technology at work here." Actually, speaking of time travel, can you do it yourself? You can do it yourself, can't you? Stormwing recalled. I remember you doing it after meditating sometimes and quaffing a potion you have concocted. Couldn't you use that time travel back into the past and warn any of us before this crash? About this crash before it happens? That way neither of us have to be stuck here. Well, if the TARDIS is not working, then this won't work either. After blowing on the spoon for a few more seconds, Vision slipped it and smacked her lips for several seconds as she tried to carefully distinguish hidden flavors and texture of her brew. This caused her to realize something, so she resumed stirring the wooden spoon into greenish liquid. While she did that, she asked, "Do you want to explain this to her, Featherwind, or should I?" Featherwind, she asked, without glancing back at either one of them. Starming glared at Featherwind, who sighed before she said, "If she did that, how would she be able to warn herself in the past about an event that she successfully prevented? That would cancel out the reason for warning herself in the first place, and thereby prevent her action. Besides, she witnessed us already in the past as older versions of ourselves. This may also imply that important things happen in the interim that she may feel is important not to interrupt." "But does this mean we are stuck in here in this time?" Starming asked with a rising color. "For now, it seems so," Featherwind said, with a guilty and depressed expression. "I don't actually have much to say to the two of you yet," Vision announced. "What little I do have to say to you is pretty important though." She turned her head to... Oh, I think you missed the quote mark here. She turned her head to aim somewhere between Featherwind and Starwing. She was blind, she wasn't actually looking at either one of them. "I do have some knowledge on what will happen based on what I recall of the past events as a younger filly, but for the most part I am blind on what will happen in this time period, because this is the first time I'm living through it. I can't tell you everything about what will happen in this time period, and what little I do know, I will leave you to discover. For now, I just have some advice for you two, and that is this. Live your lives now as you would in your own time period. The world itself may be different, but you are not. While you are here, interact with the world as you would in your own time period. It's still your lives and your destiny. Take charge of it no matter what world or time period we visit. Also," Vision turned in that direction, more fully, but her blank eyes continued to stare off to space between them. "I know the doctor means well, but at this point he's kind of holding the two of you back. Don't forget, the two of you still have some destinies to fulfill back in your native time period, like taking care of Puppet Master and King Sombra, then eventually aiding the return of King Star Empire. All three of these events are chain reactions that build off each other, and these events are so important to Equestrian's history that they have become fixed moments in time. Also, I'm gonna grab some drink. I'm back. Doctor cannot change that, and even he knows that. Yet, he isn't doing you any favors by delaying too long, just so he can have some company. Fixed moment in time, I guess. For further Equestria, that would be Fall of Equestria. Well, it's in the title that it has to fall for it to become Fallout Equestria. I'm not saying his motivations are anti-selfish either. He does give something in return for what we give him. At first, he really was doing you two a favor. Before you met the doctor, you weren't prepared to face your true destiny. But now the two of you have grown to rely on him so much that you don't think for yourselves. Not in any meaningful way, and you have to. Never thought as tradition, but yeah. What we accomplish is too important to risk delaying it any further. The further delay, the harder you to get, and that can eventually start to change direction on its own. Not all of it's good. I should probably move into frame, by the way. Is that why you didn't warn us this was coming in the past? For different reason, with a bit of melancholy tone. Towards the end, you grew too quiet, and then this happened. I think you make it a regular habit of scanning your important upcoming events for the heads up, but in this case, you didn't warn any of us. I indirectly saved your life many years ago, remember? We are reminded. I informed Celestia about the impending attack on the Orchard farm, or rather to say, I found my mother, who in turn warned Celestia, who in turn ordered the Wonder Boys to go to the farm and rescue as many ponies as they could. 6 years later you answered another message from my mother, which I also sent you to guide you to my mother's temple, so that you could return the favor and rescue me. I followed the trot of the two of you ever since the most part. I gave you warnings here and there, and all of it led up to this moment. I did not have this grandmaster plan my entire life. All I was a little bits and pieces along the way, but the fact of the matter is that we are here. We caused each other's continued existence, not only by saving each other's lives long ago, but many other times since. As I said before, I don't know everything that will happen in this time period. I am personally living through it for the first time. What I do know is, whatever happens will be important. I know it will help shape this world, and every day that follows. I know something menacing is blocking the TARDIS from returning, and that force might do much worse if it lasts unopposed. In order to get to the TARDIS to return, either this force must be neutralized, or a safe zone must be constructed that is immune to this force influence. This event is in mutual past, mind you. If left unopposed, then none of us will have existed in the first place, or at least not as we are. Everything is happening for a reason. I feel you should trust that. So, I think you are going to travel with us and help us stop this force? Fedavin guessed. Surprisingly, no. Fedavin closed her eyes and bowed her head. I have grown a lot stronger since the two of you last met as a young filly. Indeed, too strong. The physical plane is no longer a challenge to me, and as a result, I don't have much of a role to play in it. I am only here to give you two a gentle push in the right direction. And I may also pop in from time to time to continue to guide you, either a little or a lot, depending on your needs. Don't bother calling for me with your wind powers either. I will instead show up when I foresee that I am needed, like I'm doing right now. Also, using cheats is not good for you. As Doctor called her, the little cheat code. Really? Oh, really? After everything we have been through, that's what you're going to do for us now? Stamming asked in disbelief. We didn't crack her eyelids open a bit. Not to spoil things too much for the two of you, but the experience I have been through since the time you have known me as a younger filly have evolved me. I'm much more keen to the fifth dimensional reality banter that we have encountered earlier, for I can travel through time and space at will without needing to drink a potion any longer. If I travel with you now, things will become far too easy for you. then you would only grow to rely on me, like you have with the doctor. Instead of that, I'm giving the two of you an idea of what you need to do, so that you decide to your fate on your own, without any holding from some higher power. I love you two far too much to do anything to disrupt your own growth, and it is time for that. You two need to finally grow up and take charge of your own destiny. I won't even tell you where to go next after this, or when. Decide for yourselves. In all of everything we have been through together, this is my way of repaying you and being your friend. Sterling looked at Featherwind, who was frowning, then looked at Vision before approaching to hug her. I love you too, Sterling said warmly. It pleases me to see that you have grown up to be a strong and confident mare, one who is not afraid to take charge of her own destiny. While you were growing up with us, that's all I ever really wanted for you. I know, I am empathic, remember? Vision pointed out. Likely that is why I turned out the way I am. As an empath, I heavily influenced by the ponies around me. Your courage and inner strength helped me to become the pony I am today. You helped to raise me, and I have no reason to complain about the results. Sterling, can I talk to you outside? Featherwind requested. Yeah, be out there in the moment. It doesn't matter if you are outside or not. She can see everything. Because she said she couldn't see anything up until this point, right? That means from this point onward, she can see her future and their future as well. If she wants to. So she will know what they are talking about. Yeah, be out there in the moment. Okay. Featherwind went outside and waited for Sterling to arrive, which she did a few minutes later. He looked at her with a look of his apology, and as he said, I want to apologize to you for dragging you into this. Apologize? Sterling looked taken aback. For what? For dragging you into this, as I said. Really, this occurred twice now. Once before I charged at the orchards to save them, then all across Aquastia to save Vision, which is also where we met the Doctor and beyond his beyond adorable assistant. Both events transpired around me, and now you are stuck here in the very distant past of Aquastia, away from the rest of your friends and family. I just wanted you to tell you. I regret that. Why? Because I sure don't. Remember the time where we were on a planet where we changed genders? I don't regret that either. Featherwind looked surprised at Sterling. Well, okay, maybe a little bit. I do miss my friends and my family back home, but what I've gained in exchange for that is more than worth it. I have no regrets at all about saving the Urquhart family, other than the few weeks of medical recovery after that. But I've also discovered my kitty mark destiny on that adventure, and I have to save all of their lives. That is more than worth any inconveniences I suffered through at the time. As for adventure, I got to see all kinds of fantastic places throughout all time and space. This is an incredible adventure, and what makes it better is I got to do it with my nearest and dearest friend whom I love. Sterling drew close and touched the red crystal hanging around Featherwind's neck, so he could pour her feelings into the crystal. While she did that, she said, Please don't tell me that you regret traveling with me through all these places, because I sure don't. With every life I saved, in every time and place we have ever gone through, that alone affirms the importance of my own life. My life is worth living, because every creature I helped to save, and the fact I did it over and over again, just makes my life so much more worth living. I'm more than content, I'm downright happy. Sure, this situation is a bit of a downer, but I know we'll pull through together. I promised I would always protect you, remember? Featherwind nodded, while his face drew closer, drew to her chest. I will admit, that promise had been more difficult to keep than I expected when I made that promise back then, but it's also been abundantly worth it. Featherwind closed his eyes and relaxed again her broad and firm chest. Thank you for being there with me. Featherwind told her gratefully. I promise I will do everything in my power to protect you. So cute together! Hold on! Featherwind flew to a stop, then glowed silver, and he suspected himself delicately. Stormwind coasted to stop then she gave slow flaps downward to hold her place in the sky. Together they looked below at some kind of mining town. The sound of that town lifted in the wind, which was what led to the two of them to fly there. Upon closer examination, Featherwind noticed something amiss. That's not right. What is it? Suddenly Featherwind looked about, then pointed the cloud by saying, Come with me, this way. His cloak billowed as the winds picked up again, which coasted him in the nearby clouds as he indicated. Stormwind followed him. Once they arrived, Featherwind and Stormwind landed on the cloud. Featherwind got down and crawled on all fours until it peeked over the edge of the clouds. While Stormwind still didn't know what was this all about yet, she followed suit. Looking below, Featherwind ignited his horn with a dim silvery aura. At that time, a clear square window appeared in front of him that had several clear discs in front of that. As he concentrated, the length between the clear discs grew, and some of them also spun about. What the heck is that? While that happened, the view of the clear square window magnified, giving them both a closer visual inspection. Below, at anything the lens of the disc were aimed at. Oh, it's a spy. It's a spy thing. There we go. What? Wait, let's see. What is this? Clear discs. Square window. What? It's a spyglass, I guess. The telescope. It's a magical spyglass telescope. There we go. I didn't. For some reason, the name telescope didn't jump on my tongue. It was at the edge of my tongue. I could just not say it. So I became a pirate and called it spyglass. Since this was a spell Stormwind had observed before, she made no comment at that particular time. The last time he did, however, she had remarked that between this magical magnification spell and wind eavesdropping, he would make a pretty good spy. The sight they beheld beyond the magnified square window was alarming and horrifying, yet also mysterious for several reasons. What stood out the most was this was a large mining town with carved out paths zigzagging at the side of a hill. Many holes were dug into it. The hills were mined by earth ponies in chains, and they looked miserable. The earth ponies were always linked to something or somebody else, be it a wall, a cart they pulled, or to each other. Is this Sombra's timeline? It shouldn't be. There was another species that monitored this work on the mining town. They were keen-eyed species, stood upright, were a savage-looking mismatched ladder of them wielded a whip. Individually, none of them looked too bright either, but a lot of them looked somewhat brutish. The diamond dogs. As for the ponies who, beside the fact that they looked obviously enslaved, there was something else unusual about them too. The more obvious differences about them were the fact that they were larger than Featherwind or Starving were accustomed to, and they had more elongated snouts. Featherwind's spell faded away as he gripped his head, seemingly attacked by a sudden headache. Concerned, Starving asked what was wrong. After he recovered, replied, "Vivid memories, and not my own." Crystal Sage, shall I take it? Starving guessed. You've got an occasional flashes of dreams of his life as your connection to the Red Crystal deepened. That's true, but for once I don't think this is Crystal Sage memories this time. Close, but not quite. I'm pretty sure that this time it was King Sombra's. And that was after I split from Crystal Sage too. What? Starving looked very disturbed. You're getting flash memories from Sombra now? Does that mean he's getting your memories too? Featherwind shook his head. Sombra doesn't exist for many thousand years relative to this time. Besides, I think these memories kind of came from Crystal Sage anyway. He once told me he received occasional flash memories from his counterpart, and I think the one I just received was the one of the memories that was sent to Crystal Sage first. And so, okay, we are not in Sombra's timeline, but this is a time period where Sombra got the spirit, or how do you say it? I know it in Hungarian. Let me Google it, because it's gonna eat away my brain if I don't find that word. Inspiration. That's that's the word I was searching for. The inspiration to enslave ponies and use them as workers. Starving looked down below, then shifted her eyes towards her friend. What was the memory of anyway? A large line of earth ponies locked together in a long iron chain. They dug down below in misery as they moved in a large zigzag pattern while King Sombra stood overlooking all this. He himself standing on a balcony with sickly green flames lighting beside him. Sombra laughed out loud, with evil triumph over the scenery. That's it, the memory ends here. It was just a few seconds long. I can see the resemblance to this situation. Yes, I can, as well. That's why I actually asked this is not Sombra's timeline, because it's way in the past. Featherwind nodded in agreement. They recreated the magnification window and glanced beyond it. Why the hell did he take it away to begin with? He focused on the scenery below him. He also shifted his view back and forth among those below. Wait a second. I saw something strange. Oh. Wait a second. I saw something strange. Featherwind, zoom up to the pony's flanks. Any of them will do. Featherwind did as requested. Aha! Just as I expected. No cutie mark on that one, and he's well into his adult years. This doesn't seem like an environment conducted to inner growth, and sadly is going necessary to awaken a cutie mark, unless any of them happens to be mining or being enslaved. Featherwind commented. Based on what I read about the ancient history, however, I have another theory as to what's going on. Oh, the spell ended because of the distraction. It was not him taking it away. Okay, makes sense. I'm sorry about that. I thought he took it away, but it was not him. What is it? Hold on. Featherwind continued to scan more and more of the Earthbound's fangs. Example after example proved that they were all blank. Sometimes Featherwind took a picture of it. When he did, the clear window flashed for a moment, and smaller copy of the image shifted to the bottom right corner. With each picture he took, another smaller copy was shifted to the bottom right of the last image. Well, how much more of spying tools are you gonna give him? If Featherman later intended to keep a copy of those pictures, he would have to transfer it to another source, such as red crystal he wore on those neck. On his neck. Yeah, Featherman said. I don't think you need a capital S here. It's what I thought. Do you notice something else amiss about those ponies? Besides being bigger, quite a bit more elongated at the snout, and all of them not having a kitty mark? No, I don't see anything else. Wait a second, I take it back. The fact they are unsleeved that count as a miss. She narrowed her eyes. Without a tear come to my mind. Hold on, are there any mares among this group? Yes, there are. Kadavin answered. I saw a few. Hold on, let me try to find them. Ah, here. Oh, and over here. There's another one. Stabbing shouted. Okay, so this group has both genders. Though I think they were more stallions than mares here. Stabbing shifted her eyes to her friend. Why, you ask? What else do you see amiss about them? For one thing, look at their color schemes. What do you see? Mostly earthly hues. Stabbing answered, fairly casually. Browns, whites, blacks, that sort of thing. Some of them have mixed spots on the three colors. They are just normal earth ponies. Yeah, but no pink or purple or green or lavender or blue. Falavin pointed out. Same thing with their manes and tails. It also likes the brighter colors. Yeah, so? Stabbing said with a careless shrug. Because she is brown. Falavin released a long breath and then said, if my theory is correct, as well as the scrolls I've read about ancient ponies, you will not find such colors among any of them, because this is the time period before the rise of magic, or what I say, it is just the beginning to birth. If you go back far enough, then ponies won't be any more intelligent than basic animals. That's why you are not seeing any colorful colors here. Colorful colors. Is there any not colorful color? That's why you find any kitty marks among them either. That art has not been discovered yet. Furthermore, if this is the time period before the rise of kitty marks, then there is something else you won't encounter in this era. Which is? Stammer impressed. I will give you a strong hint. Hadawin looked at his friend. The thing that's missing here is what we represent. Pegasai and unicorns? Stamming made a logical guess due to the example they represented something she had not seen below so far. Right. Hadawin nodded. It's because our species have not evolved at all. Now, Quill, you know why the magic is starting to bud at this area. Because there are two stupid ponies who traveled here with a time machine who already had it. They caused a little bit of disturbance in time, so their existence made their existence possible. It's a big headache. It's just like it's basically the same happened with the first Sonic Rain boom. If Twilight from the future wasn't there to begin with, then it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have been a strong magical being. Starving shot her friend a wide-eyed look. Are you serious? Yes. Falavin looked below again. Of the three breeds, the Earth ponies came first. It took regular exposure to magic for the other two to eventually evolve. A lot of ancient archaeological artifacts we discovered that attest to this. There are no ancient cave paintings of unicorns or Pegasi because back then they did not exist. We are looking at a time here where our breeds had not evolved yet. That's going to make them interacting with them more interesting, Starwick realized. There is more. Featherwind went on. Ponies from that far back do not speak the same language as the ponies from our era, nor did they speak Old Polish. Instead, they speak Ancient Polish, and we hardly have any writings that lasted this long to translate that. Any records from this far back came mostly from the objects they crafted lucky enough to survive about 44,000 years, as well as cave paintings. Lucky for us, I was raised in a strict learning environment, and I learned Ancient Polish. That is not written here, but I guess that could have happened for Featherwind. Starwick widened her eyes. And I thought this is not here to help translate for us. Right. Fortunately. Featherwind nodded. Fortunately, I have come somewhat prepared for that. Ever since we traveled with the doctor and realized that other alien civilizations did not actually speak our language, and it was a TARDIS translating for us, I realized the potential necessary to invent a spell that would help translate languages for us, just in case the TARDIS stopped becoming available at some time. Communication is a very important skill, after all, and one I did not wish to risk losing in the potential case of TARDIS' absence. Accordingly, I went into the virtual library inside the gem and did some research to invent a new spell. Well, you might have noticed he's a pretty knowledgeable character. Wow, you are reading fast. That would help me translate foreign languages. Krista's age also helped me with that a little bit. Spells. Translating. Featherwind, you know that you need samples before you can translate, right? You need a lot of samples before you can translate anything. Unless, obviously, he at a library, so he can make a spell that translates this language, this language, this language, and this language, but luckily he's prepared for Ancient Ponies. Please tell me you were successful. Starwick begged, hopefully. Magic. Yes, I believe I mastered it, but to maintain the spell, it takes concentration, which means my horn will remain alight during the spell, which will in turn tip them off as to my difference. It also makes it harder to cast any other spell that also takes concentration, such as basic telekinesis. So you can't speak. Luckily, there are no unicorns, Pegasi here, because you can't use the translation spell by flying. It's a tongue spell. When he casts it, tongues are gonna fall from the sky. It's gonna be such a mess. In addition, if that concentration gets disrupted for any reason, I will need to recast the spell and hold it in order for those benefits to resume it again. If we are going to be here for a very long time, however, I recommend we actually learn the language permanently. For now, the spell we do. Starwick pushed up with her forelegs into straight sitting position as she looked at her friend sternly, then asked, "Consider the situation, you know I can't ignore this, right?" And suddenly, oh, no, 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 no. Why did I make that image? No, that's even worse than what I just did. If it's alive tongues and they start attacking by licking people or ponies. That's a horrible spell. Why did you cast it? No, I know you can't. Paladin looked at her. Trust me, I sympathize too, so I won't stand in the way. All I ask is that we do a little more recon before we do any drastic action. As soon as our presence is known, they also know what we are. There will be a line that we can never uncross again. That joke is in good taste. It's not gonna be in good taste because the tongues will probably fall on the ground first. And we know that the ground does not taste good. You don't have to come with me, starving or fat. Yes, I do. I have the spell. Don't you remember? But Evan insisted as he sat up straight as well. I'm not leaving your side. That comment made Starving smile. You will need my help to translate their messages anyway. Yep. As for the situation, he looked down over the edge of the cloud again, in a downward direction. I'll push the cloud over the hill and lower it. We can sneak off the cloud beyond their sight. At that point, I will give you my cloak, so you can use it to conceal your wings. Starving gave her friend a critical look. That cloak looks like it's made of thick clouds that occasionally kicking downwards mist with occasional flashes of lightning. I think it's going to stand out about as much as my wings would have. Possibly more so. Yeah, possibly more so because you can adjust the quality of wings. Not if I cover it with dirt, Paladin said to her with sly sideways glance to her. Oh, I suppose that could work. Won't that get it dirty though? Will it still help you fly later? Paladin shrugged carelessly. It will be a little way down, but I can still use take off. Besides, I can summon rain and winds to help wash it off later. I have other spells too that could help as well if needs be. What about your horn? That will stand out as well, especially if it keeps glowing while you use it to translate for us. I will create a helmet with my magic, crystal magic. If you will note, some of the Earth ponies are wearing helms too. It won't stand out much for wearing one as well. It will make it a dark hue color to blend in more, as a kind of rock. Sounds like a plan, but it's just a crystal, so it will be still showing the shine that you are using. And we have another stopping point. Good. So we are lowering down to speak with them. It was a plan, alright. It's a flawed plan that had several holes in it. Sure, there would have been more flaws in it, if it weren't for the precautions we took. But it did not cover everything. For instance, nobody wanted to talk to either of us. It was as if they felt afraid to do so, as they might get whipped. For those who happened to glance at us, you usually did a double take because there was enough difference in our facial configuration and coloration to be very noticeable, especially in my case. Also, while I could not call your mother small by any means, all of the Earth ponies around us were a little bigger than her, if they were full adults. As for me, they probably mistook me for a fool, and the runt at that. The one species that did speak to us, however, were the dog taskmasters, and your mother did not care for what they had to say one bit. Oh yeah, get back to the Diamond Dog's voice. I don't remember that voice. Hey! He was annoyed dog, cracked the whip at Feather Wings and Starving's direction as he approached. The dog successfully got the attention of them both, but not the kind of attention he hoped for or expected. Horses work, not dark! Get precious gems! Yes! Yes! Hurry! 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 Chop! 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 Make me! Starving spat with a hard narrow stare at the dog taskmaster. Hey! Get back to work! He grabbed the whip, was closer to Stormwing, but Stormwing didn't even flinch. Once he drew closer, he noticed something else amiss. Hey, where's your collar and chain? Who broke you out? It was never on me to begin with, Stormwing reported honestly. And if you want to get it on me, you're going to have to work very hard for it. The creature looked upset. Insolence horse! I hate you! Me beat you now! Since he stood close enough to actually strike her at this time, he cocked his whip at her, with the intention to strike her. But as she lifted her leg and caught the whip, it wrapped around her left leg. With it, she held it aloft. You're going to beat me? Stormwing, that's definitely. You will have to try a lot harder than that. Hey! The dog yipped in complaint. How's that gold whip? So me beat you now. You first. Stormwing growled defiantly, then used her own grip on the whip to yank the dog creature stumbling forward. When he got in range, Stormwing struck him hard in the face. He was then spinning back several feet, spreading the dog slobber out as he spun back before tripping and falling down away from her direction. Then he got back several more feet, stunned and fearful of her. No, that's not how it happened. How it happened was this. She slugged him hard in the face. She was then spinning back several feet. No, he was then spinning back and never landed again, while shouting, "Duck and gang flew off again!" That's how it happened, right? Stormwing used her grip on the whip to toss it down to her side. She then rose her hind legs, then stopped down her forward legs hard on the ground. Let me get something straight with you, Stormwing said in a boldly defiant tone. Either you or any other creature is going to touch me. What about me? You are an exception, you can touch me. Or put on chains or collars on me without either my permission or a fight. Okay. Going to touch me without permission. If you're determined enough to try, then we are throwing hooves. Do you understand me? Bad horse! It's a very bad horse! I don't have hooves! The creature cried out fearfully as he kept calling back, and while he did that, Stormwing matched him step for step, thus keeping the distance between each other fixed. Only to bullies like you, Stormwing promised harshly. The dog creature held up in the air. Stormwing almost slugged him for that, but then suddenly realized this could be a good thing. So she backed off and allowed him to summon the rest of his pack, so just she could leave better impression to a larger audience. Sure enough, the harp was picked up by several others. They used it to home in on the initial call. It only took a few minutes or 12 more together. When they did, they circled around Stormwing, who looked back and forth among them sharply, through a narrow eye stare. What trouble here? Another one of the dog creatures, taller and darker toned. One who wore a collar with spikes on it. He asked aloud in deeper, gruffer tone. Oh, sorry. What trouble here? That's his voice, right? Since he looked to be the largest of the gathered pack, he spoke first. One he could assume he was the leader of the gathered bunch. She is! The initial one in the mismatched letter called by pointing out accusingly at Stormwing. She not work! She grabbed whip! She beat me! She is not finished making an example of you, Stormwing added menacingly. She talk back! The mismatched letter talk went on. She talk at all! Horses talk backs! Insolent horse! Stupid horse! Well? The tall black dog with the spike collar wrapped his whip around his other paw tightly enough to make it creak. We best make example, stupid horse! You're welcome to try. Sterling said aloud, when looking at any of them. Featherwind, take your cloak back, Sterling said as she grabbed it with one of her hidden wings and thrust it upwards. In midair, a freak wind blew. No, in midair, a freak wind blew, which caught the cloak and brought it back to Featherwind. He caught it, then quickly put it on. Notably, its size fit him much better than Sterling anyway. After taking off the cloak, Sterling spread her brown wings with black tips boldly and proudly. This demonstration made the dogs about her hesitate with shock. Horse with wings! The dog especially yapped in astonishment. Get her! Cried the tallback dog. I'm actually interested in what the others in the other room actually think of me hearing those random noises. Because there are some people at home at this point. Upon saying that, the circle of dogs about closed in from all sides. Sterling meanwhile bent down and leapt up into the air. Single flap of her large wings shot her into the air much faster, but she did not sail off far enough to disappear. Because she was no longer between them, however, the dogs posed in their charge. Up in the air, Sterling curved back, looped over, and dove back to the ring of the many dogs. Upon arrival, she snatched up the one she initially had a confrontation with, and flew off with him in the air. Put me down! Put me down this instant! The dog in mismatched leather yapped. Startled. I knew it's gonna be if you insist. It is. If you insist. Sterling said after she flew over a quarry, then deposited him very high above it. The dog cried out as he fell. In the unlikely event he survived the fall, he would be very gravely injured considering the height and the hard, uneven rock surfaces he would have landed upon. She probably gonna catch it. Swinging back from a sudden wing over maneuver, Sterling dove back to the ring of dogs. As she closed on them, she flipped about to aim one hind leg as she perceived to be the leader of them. Wow. She flipped about to aim one hind leg at what she perceived to be the leader of the remaining ring of dogs. That leg sank into his face with sickening cracking sounds which collapsed his skull and bent his face inward, after which the king stared him away, twitching. So she just picked up one of them and killed them? I thought it was just gonna be an example of sorts, but no, that's a bigger example. She outright killed one of them, and the other one has her face broken. Come get me, boys! Stabbing dead after she landed. I will target the next one who gets closest to me. When you do, you might fare as well this one head. That's one heavy example. The dogs remained glanced at each other. Then they all ran away. They ran so fast they went on all fours, abandoning their weapons in the process. The cheer arose from the earth ponies around them, who witnessed this stunning event. We have one last section, or maybe there are gonna be some. This should be good. Preparation for war. That's the title of this song. On a day, we managed to scare off the few dogs creatures that were in the area and freed the earth ponies, who were also willing to be liberated. But the next day proved we had more of a fight on our hooves than one little scuffle. It turned out these dog creatures who fled in the mines, and the quarry only did so to summon the rest of the pack, and it was quite a bit larger than most of us were expecting. The earth ponies were rescued. The most police we rescued had some idea how many there truly were, but not to this degree. Hundreds, almost 1,000 of the dog creatures returned with sizable army. I knew we could still deal with them, but we would have to change tactics compared to yesterday. This time it was my turn to step forward and give an ultimatum. I used my magic to project my voice into the boom in order to be heard by all of them. I warned them to back off, but as I expected, a small statue didn't prove that intimidating to them at first. Flying up into the air and summoning a storm cloud under the roof left a deeper impression. I caused a storm cloud to rain upon them, which at first only mystified them. After that, I asked them if any of them knew what happens to the water when it's struck by a bolt of lightning. To prove I could carry through with that threat, I had a bolt of lightning shot down into a miniature storm cloud I had in front of my hoof. Lightning constantly crackled in that mini cloud after it was shot with a larger lightning bolt from above. By holding that lightning close to me, I dared them to approach, so they could find out for themselves. At that point, they had still enough and started to flee again. At first, I thought I heard the end of it for that day, so I dissipated the cloud with lightning in it, secretly relieved that I didn't have to use this after all. But 1 hour later, I heard the horn in the distance and drew my attention back fast. It continued to blow for a while, and while it did, it held my attention. They were back with umbrellas. They were up to something. I could just feel it. But I had no idea the scope of what they were trying to summon. It turned out it was their true boss. A thunderous roar spread across the sky, which drew feathers, winds, and many others as well, attention skyward. His jaw slightly dropped as his eyes widened in shock, and he beheld a shadow of gigantic dragon descended from above. I knew it's gonna be a dragon if it's up in the sky. Why is he here? It's probably not that king. Not the Dragon Lord. It's another Dragon Lord. It was first visible only as a silhouette through the clouds above, before it broke through and dragged the clouds down with an enormous body, seeming to rip even the clouds asunder in doing so. When the dragon finally hit the ground, it was large enough to cause a localized earthquake. Facing the dragon from the front, it was actually difficult to see the tip of the tail at the end due to the great distance. Well, dragons like gems, and so do the diamond dogs. The two of them working together actually makes a lot of sense. No, it's not working together. It's not working together. It's... Hey, little doggos. You bring me gems. I will not eat you. Basically, that's it. And they were just, almighty Dragon Lord. There are some stupid horses who don't follow our lead. Can you help us? And also he is probably a little bit interested in this magical pony who has wings and probably can cast thunderstorms as well. Facing the dragon from the front, it was actually difficult to see the tip of the tail at the other end due to great distance. Okay. Meet the boss, mate! Caught a large stork creature from the top of the dragon's head. He had to shout very hard to be heard from all that high up. His name is Fang! But I believe this mining operation is Dragon and the Diamond Dog's idea. And it is Fang. Why Fang? Fang is a good dragon, don't make him an enemy. And he has some words for all of you. So what I think, this is not Fang. This is another Fang. It is the great grandfather of the Fang that we know. There we go. Because this is the older times. They just like the name Fang. Because it is big and strong. It's fit for a dragon. No? Wait. Fang? Why do you think it was Fang? It's Torch. That was a... just a second. Okay. You don't recall. You don't recall because that's one of my friends' OC. You don't recall of that. I'm sorry. It was not in the show. You can't recall it. I just switched up the names. But thank you for reminding me that the Dragon Lord was Torch. His OC is another Dragon Lord who is called Fang. That it might be this Fang. Who knows? Because that was also a big dragon. Featherwind swallowed his nervousness and flew up to the dragon's face to be more visible. What do you want? Featherwind asked in a magical projected voice, in order to be better heard. He figured he would establish the dialogue to help calm things down and see what he could work with. The dragon replied with a huge burst of flame erupting from his mouth. And then... oh no, that's not gonna happen because there are no parasites, I'm sorry. Featherwind defended himself by conjuring a cyclone ball around him, which whirled the fire around him, but it was so powerful, it went around his bonnier and toasted several homes and ponies behind him. Well, ponies still died. When the dragon finally stopped, the whirlwind around Featherwind calmed down. He looked behind him and saw several earth ponies had been killed. The very same earth ponies he swore to defend not too long ago. At first, Featherwind looked over his shoulder in horror at the earth ponies that died not far behind him, but then he suddenly turned his gaze towards the dragon, while his head shook slightly, which lightly revealed the raging torrent he felt inwardly. It was stronger than he ever felt before. He narrowed his eyes at the dragon with focused fury. After that, he flew further up. Fine then, he asked the dragon through his tightly clenched teeth. If that's the way you want to play it, then come and get me, he roared. Then shot a focused magical beam, blast right at the dragon's neck, but the crew momentarily started to notice the beam had absolutely no effect due to the dragon's relative height. Also, they are nearly immune to magic, because of their scales. He even saw the dragon give a cocky grin, since the dragon realized he was immune to such spark beam. But Featherwind recovered quickly, with a new plan. Featherwind flew off past the dragon. As he did so, he shot another beam at it, this time aiming at the dragon's right eye. He almost hit it, but the dragon closed his eyelid at the last second, and aside from that, his aim was a little off. The beam hit just right of his right eye wow. Just a second. The beam hit just to the right of the right eye. Instead, wow. I can't with this. I can't read this line. Why can't I do it? The beam hit just to the right of the right eye instead. But at least he secured the attention of the dragon. There we go. How many times do I have to retry this line? He used to have a lure. He used that to lure its head away from the other ponies. Featherwind flew back into the open valley. He stopped for a moment as his body flared with powerful red aura, while he hovered there. He also aimed a hoop down at the earth below. A giant spike made of red jagged crystal erupted from the earth. It continued to grow upwards, eventually towering 50 feet off the ground. The spike was much larger at the base than it was at the tip, looking something like a giant red stalagmite. Smaller spikes also grew off the larger spike, kind of like branches extending off the tree, lightning bolt frozen in time. Maybe. And upon seeing this, I think Fang will just stop attacking and... Oh! Gem! Look at that! It's a gem! Guys, I like this guy. I'm not gonna attack him. He can create gems. That's all it's gonna be. And he's gonna offer him a deal. Let's just say it like that. That you make me gems, I don't hurt them. And we can be friends. While the spike grew, both of Featherwind's hooves trampled constantly due to the animal's strain of channeling that much magical energy through his body. It's how it should go. But I know that it is basically a spike basically to kill him. The dragon nearly caught up to him. Featherwind flew straight upwards, but not too fast, because he wanted the dragon to follow him. Cursed, the dragon entirely ignored the giant red stalagmite. It was literally a fatal mistake, but also a bit surprising, since Featherwind told dragons like to eat gems. What he just conjured was likely a bigger gem than all the combined gems, even if it ever gained in its lifetime. And this was very ancient dragon. No, that's an overstatement. You think that you are great, but dragons eat a lot of crystals. I remember when Spike ate all of Red's crystals, and he was not even full at that point, and it was just one day of eating. And we know that dragons have an unsatiable hunger for the gems. And not just gems. Featherwind kept flying skywards. He maintained just enough distance to keep out of what he suspected was a dragon's breath weapon range. I don't think... Wait. You don't need weapon here. Quill. The dragon's best range should be enough, right? Of fire range or something like that, or flame range, but it's not a weapon. It's a weapon, but you know what I mean. During that time, the large dog creature on top of the dragon. Oh, he's still there! Barely clung onto the dragon's head due to the ripping speed of the wind caused by the rapid ascent, and he yapped tightly due to the strain of that effort. That might be assumed regular breath. No! If we are talking about dragon breath is always a fire breathing. Unless we are talking about Spike. Dragon breath is always assumed to be fire. Or magical beam at that point. They can do regular breathing too, but you don't have a dragon breath. You are calling it breath. It's just dragon breathing. That's the difference. Dragon breath is the fire attack. Dragon breathing is when they are inhaling and exhaling air. Since the wind was brushing hard against the dragon's face due to the rapid descent, Featherwind figured that was another factor that would limit the dragon's breath, the weapon range. Featherwind also eyed below him, careful to make sure the giant spike he created was directly below the dragon. If it wasn't, he course-corrected himself up in the air. Since the dragon was chasing him, it created his flight below him as well, and in doing so, aligned his body directly above the giant spike. I'm sorry. Featherwind called down to the dragon in genuine remorse, mixed in with lingering fury. I'm so sorry. Sorry, but you leave me no choice. He then shot about way too fast for the dragon to keep up, which caused it to stop trying. Instead, it paused and hovered in the air. Bewildered that the pony he was chasing suddenly had the ability to accelerate faster than an arrow shot from the bow, and left a cloud trail tracing a line all the way beyond sight in the atmosphere. During that time, the dog creature collapsed on the dragon's head and panted in exhaustion. Hovering in place, the dragon widened his eyes when it noticed the sky above gathered clouds and started spinning. The tornado descended down from above, far too fast to be natural. Featherwind came down in the center of it, but not in the lead. The tornado descended ahead of him. He descended with it. He roared at the top of his lungs, channeling all of his raw, savage fury into the nature around him. The tip of the tornado plunged into the dragon. Not even a creature that large could resist the might of nature, and its hammer came down on him with full force. Also, the dog creature was flung away from the top of the dragon's head, never to be seen again from Featherwind's perspective. The dragon ended up spinning really fast as it plunged downward straight to the spike. I knew this would happen. As the dragon continued to be launched downwards, it widened the hole in its chest more and more, because the spike widened out at the base. The dragon was still spinning as he plunged through the spike like a traverse trail. The spike also had many more jagged spikes on the spike. Wow, Spikeception! Which was torn off and stuck it inside the dragon's body. That in turn tore up his innards even further. Quill, this is what we call overkill. This is definitely what we call overkill. This process continued until the dragon was pushed all the way down to the ground, with a hole so gigantic in its chest area. It practically encompassed 70% of its entire torso, despite its enormous size. Another example of a huge example. That he killed it so spectacularly that, hey, dogs, you see, this is your boss. Now I'm the boss. If I can do this to him, you can imagine what can I do to you. Featherwind landed near the impaled giant corpse. He started in a long moment of silence, with lingering simmering fury that quickly cooled off with regret at this necessity. Then he bowed his head in remorse of what he had done. This was unnecessary, by the way. While that happened, Sterling landed beside him. I can't believe you did that! Sterling exclaimed to her friend in amazement. That was another dragon, who was probably thousands upon thousands of years old, and you just took him out all by yourself. Featherwind, you're amazing! After all this time, you still amaze me. That's passing up some previously very high standards too. So, Featherwind is the reason that for several years the dragons attacked the ponies. Isn't he? Because there was a war between them. If we remember back in the actual canon story. Featherwind started that war. Not known. You know, if you kill the Dragon Lord, well, he can be not a Dragon Lord, though. If you kill a Dragon Lord, the new Dragon Lord will have to show to the other dragons that he is strong enough to lead by avenging the old Dragon Lord. But I don't recall a war between them. Seems unlikely that the pony race would win that case. There was a war between them. That's when I don't know the name of it. I forgot the name of the old element of bravery. That's when he got the shield that can repair fire. And they won. Because magic. Oh Dad, that was just not a war. The dragons were just being territorial. Well, in the police standpoint it is a war. If it were a full-out war, the police wouldn't have a chance. But that's Flash Magnus, that's it. Now tie the shield. After all this time, you still amaze me. That's passing up some previously high standards too. But I killed him. Featherwind said sadly. I can't help but feel like the doctor would have found a better way to do for this. Yes, this was very much an overkill. That was another dragon intent on retribution and slaughter. I doubt even the doctor would have found a better solution to this. And even if he could, it might be through resources that you don't have access to. I also recall the doctor actually has failed to save some lives many times before, victims and villains alike. He gets to it every time, but that doesn't mean either of you could have done better if given a chance. No matter how much experience either of you have, you don't always have the time to stop and think of the perfect solution to every problem exactly when it occurs. And when you are dealing with opponents like this, the stubborn streak may limit your options very drastically. I know you feel sad for the dragon, but remember all the ponies you also saved today. Not only you saved them, but had to free them. Sorry, I got to answer that. Someone was speaking to me to Discord. . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . . 。 . . . . 。 . . . 。 . 。 . . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 .
。 . 。 .
Adding that last point reminded Feather Wind of them. He looked over at his shoulder at the cheering crowd because this victory helped them secure their freedom. That did make him feel a little bit better, but a little bitter too, because he also knew they celebrated the death of the dragon. They celebrated the misery of another because that individual would have continued to impose the misery upon them. While understandable, it also felt a little wrong to him. It was at that moment he realized he fucked up. No, it was at that moment the reality of how savage a time period we were in more fully sank into me. In such a primitive time, maiming and killing were more quickly considered as a resort. When I came from, violence to this degree was rare enough to be considered extremely traumatizing if it happened. I mean, I came from a time where the one was honestly considered chocolate cherry cake with custard filling and buttercream frosting rosettes to be considered an actual weapon in warfare. Some of the boys actually had post-traumatic stress disorder at the thought of wasting such delicious cake by dropping it from the sky like a bomb, a rampaging horde of bisons versus yaks. In attempt to get them to break up the fight so they could settle this with a peaceful talk. Oh, all the delicious cake dripping on the battlefield gave some of the boys nightmares for weeks. Oh no! The sweet victory was not so sweet because you wasted all the delicious cake. I suppose we have to deal with them. Had I been figured? Well, we did just help liberate the society. What's the next step? Also, it's no use considering our races anymore. I think we made it pretty clear that we are what we are at this point. But I'm inside, in misery, as he hung his head down. They probably think we are gods now. It turned out I was totally right. The liberated ponies called me Storm God. A new name for both of them ever since that day, and they called Stormwing Guardian Angel. I kind of liked the nickname for Stormwing. On her it was pretty appropriate and had a nice ring to it, but I felt uncomfortable with that nickname for me, especially considering the fact that they honestly did think I was a genuine god. Do you recognize that cake? That exact expression was used before, word for word. I checked it on Netflix for subtitles for sure. Isn't that when reality investigates? Isn't that cake? I remember something slightly. Or that was a different cake. Exactly, okay. I remember that episode because that was one of my favorites. As an episode itself. Not the story itself, but it was the exposition. Because of the noir style and the the custom changes of variety. I remember that very well. It was pretty hard to convince them otherwise on this point. In their world, magic did not exist yet for the rest ponies, and the closest thing the antagonists had to magic was the fire the dragon breathed. It had good juice in it, I agree. Since they could not understand the force I tapped into, it was easier for them to call it a supernatural force that was called upon by a higher dimensional being, aka a god. I could tell them they were wrong till I was blue in the face. Well, bluer, hit me right? Because I'm blue. The body, what did that? It would do nothing to change what they convinced themselves of. Since that was the only explanation they could understand, it was the only one they could accept. even if I told them otherwise. At first, I tried to tell them otherwise, but it quickly occurred to me how futile that effort was. I was smart enough to foresee where this pattern was leading, and why it was on the track. Because of that, I wanted out of there as soon as possible. But before leaving, I also told them to call out the name Featherwind to the wind and whisper a message for me if they ever got into trouble again. That way I will be alerted to any potential problems of theirs without having to remain with them and continue to guard them personally. Of course, even though I told them that, I also figured out how their minds would translate that message. To their ears, it must have sounded something like, if you call out my true name, Featherwind, to the wind, and pray with all your might, and if you have enough faith in your heart, I might consider to burying you again if I ever deem you lowly and pathetic mortals, worthy of salvation. I had uncomfortable flashbacks in that moment of seeing Wind teasing me about unicorn supremacy all over again. Unicorn power race! There we go. I hate being put on pedestal. Well, it's bad enough when I occasionally become the center of attention, but that kind of attention only makes me feel more isolated. I don't care if others feel it's compliment or insult, I just want to be treated like everybody else. Too late for that. You are the first flying unicorn. At least, that has been listed in history books. After leaving them, I convinced your brother had to land on top of the cloud, with me quite a distance from the newly liberated Earth police. It was there when we had a heart talk. Well, fun like many before or since. Oh, wait just a second. I just realized something. The doctor said he is the first that is written down in history books. But they are back in the past right now. So he is still the first who appeared in true history. Because where they are right now, there are no unicorns. He is definitely the first unicorn in that time period who is also flying. The exact definition of a first flying unicorn who can be called a god. After leaving them, I convinced your mother to land on top of a cloud with me, quite distance from the newly liberated Earth ponies. It was there we had a heart-to-heart talk, one like many before since. It's kind of a good point, but fighting from that far back is hard to survive this present day. And also they said that many of the ancient Ponish things disappeared. That was the first thing that they said. That's why it was hard to learn the language. That's why he had to go back to King Sembra's library. To create this spell, this OP spell that he has. The translation tongue spell. Or lickety spell, if you want to call it like that. Tell me what's wrong? Starman prompted, the first to speak within the two after they landed. Seriousness, there we go. I keep thinking about what happened with the dragon over and over again in my mind. I can't figure out a way. I could have fulfilled it better. But I feel really guilty for killing him. What happened to the doggos? Did they leave? Did they just fly away? You can see why he would think. Yep. It makes sense why he would develop that spell. Featherwind looked over his right shoulder at his friend. Stammering for a part, crawled forward to a friend's side and draped the wing protectively over him. also using it to pull him close to her side. Yeah, they fled. Maybe I should specify that. Yeah, that's a good thing. That you should say that they fled after seeing that, because we could imagine that they fled, but it was not pointed out. I feel especially guilty that I used the sky to do it, he went on. That is an element of all light depends on for continued existence. I know it's going to sound strange, but since I'm the one with the sky, I feel like I betrayed the dragon's trust by using the sky against it. I used something that was supposed to be shared equally with all life on the planet, bringing the rest of the nature crashing down on the dragon. That was not fair, because that was a god's doing. But you are the one with the sky, and I trusted you with its power, Starwick pointed out. I don't think you were given this power so you could not use it. By using this power, you're just being yourself. Father Wind shook his head. But it was wrong of me to use the sky against this creature, any creature for that matter. I trusted my instinct when I leapt off the cliff, and the wind told me it would watch me. Now my instincts are telling me what I've done is wrong. Maybe the reason I have this power because I'm the least inclined to abuse it. Using the wind to assist other creatures and make their lives more comfortable is okay, but using it as a weapon? I vow to myself on this night, I shall not use this power offensively again. No. Father Wind, no. That's a bad thing, because at some point you will have to use it offensively. Probably when King Sombra returns. Starwick was quiet for a moment as she used that time to formulate her words, then spoke with the same kind of wise-cutting power that sometimes surprises other ponies. In that case, let me ask you this. If you had the power to travel back in time and do that encounter all over again, what would you do differently? Recall you were dealing with an angry elder dragon. He just breathed fire and killed a bunch of innocent ponies, and thereby proving his intent was extremely hostile. He seemed to have focused his rage on you, particularly since you seem to be the primary instigator of his save's liberation. You can't control his actions just your own. You could try blasting him with a beam of magical energy, but since I'm asking you to repeat this scenario by time traveling into the past, you know that it will do nothing more than annoy him, since his scales are far too thick to be affected by such magic. If you maintain your vow to not use the sky against him, then what would you have done instead? If you fly away faster than he can catch up to you, then he can't catch up to you. That may motivate him to turn around and continue his wrath against the other ponies instead. I of course would have done everything I could do to defend them, probably to the bitter end in this case. Since this is another dragon we are talking about here, let's not kid ourselves about my chances against it. I would most likely be killed along with a bunch of other Earth ponies. The survivors would be enslaved again. With me. If you continue to fight the dragon, using your own magic, then you might be killed again. And again he would resume his wants against the others, until they are all killed or enslaved again. He's obviously no boon to talk. He even ignored the giant crystal spike you erected, even though it could technically be considered a beneficial food source for him. He just mad at you beyond all reason. So considering all the alternatives, what could you have done differently? You should have started with the giant crystal. Starwick was silent for a while, as she let her friend digest that question. But after several minutes of silence, it was clear he could not come up with a helpful alternative, so Starwick resumed her point. If you cannot think of a better alternative, then it might be wise to consider weather control as an option remaining on the table against your future enemies. Some creatures you might face in the future might be just as powerful, angry, and dangerous as the dragon. If you get stuck in a corner like that again, and your greatest asset is the only way to win against what is otherwise impossible odds, and you need to keep it as an option. There you go. I thank you, Stormwing. It's okay to use it as a last resort, and it's okay to feel bad if you are forced to use it offensively, but you do have this power and need to take responsibility for it. I do not think you were granted this power to do nothing with it. It's just wasteful. Limiting yourself to using this power only for comfort is a considerate thought, but occasionally you may face another emergency, where it becomes your final and best weapon against it. Many times through history, even other ponies who faced the same situation did not have access to power like yours, and what they did was simply die, unable to cope against the face of such overwhelming power and rage. They were totally defeated by it. At least you have this option. If it makes you uncomfortable, then by all means limit its usage as much as you feel you need to, but don't wipe it off the table entirely. You also have a great deal of other powers and training at your disposal. If any of them work instead, then by all means do so. I just don't want you to avoid this option, when all other alternative paths are close to you. If it truly is the last resort, then use it. Either that, or let yourself and every pony in danger die. Also record this, nature itself is not clean of sin. Storms sometimes happen at inconvenient times, even when it's carefully monitored by weather control ponies. On the occasion when the weather is wild and untamed, it will sometimes kill. If nature itself is willing to go that far, and you are part of it, then you should be equally willing to do whatever you must. In your case, you also have the sentience and conscience. Since you have it, then, by all means, use it to the best of your ability. But don't let it alone limit your options. Instead, consider all the facts as life presents it, then make the best decision you can, in each and every possible moment. That's the best any of the rest of us can do as well. Hello inside. I suppose you are right. I still feel sorry for the dragon. It was unfair for him to face me and get crushed by some pony who could use all the power of nature itself against it. The very same nature it always depended on to live all along. What if we were to face power like that and I didn't have this power? Then it wouldn't be fair to us either. You're right, it's not fair. It wasn't fair when the dragon's power was used against those Earth ponies either. You used your power to help save them at the dragon's expense. That was your choice, and you will have to learn to live with it. When you face a situation like this again, then you will have to deal with that as well. The Doctor has faced a dilemma like this for centuries. It isn't fair for us to rely on him all the time. He didn't do anything to deserve that kind of a burden without a break. His status keeps on delivering him to places and times where he is needed. But do you know why isn't it constantly delivering him to every place and every second throughout all the time? It is because there really are. Wow. It is because there really are other heroes like him out there who also do what is needed of them in their own place and time. If the problem has the ability to solve itself, then the Doctor doesn't show up because he doesn't need to. And that is fair. Sharing the burdens and responsibilities of life is actually what we must do instead of transferring it all to him all the time. He may be selfless enough to be willing to accept that responsibility and burden, but that still doesn't make it right when there are alternatives. If he is the one constantly exposed to danger, then eventually it really will kill him for good. And then who will pick up the torch? Well, to that question, I ask another. Why wait until it's too late? Help him out now by doing our own parts in life. By dividing the burden equally and fairly, we also divide the danger. What is left for him will therefore become more manageable. In gratitude for all this, he's done for us far and wow. In gratitude for all he's done for us so far, and even going out his way to skip the credit for it It's the least we can do for him. And if he was faced with darkness constantly, without fair break, there's another way for him for it to defeat him. With his help, it could corrupt his own heart as well. Considering how effective he has been as a hero, imagine how much trouble we would all be if he got corrupted into villain. With the ability to travel all time and space, he could defeat any of us before any of us were even born. Exactly. So then you agree that it's fair to use... Wait, who is talking? I'm confused. Who is talking at this point? That's him, her, him. Okay. There we go. And if he was faced with darkness constantly without fair break, there is another way for it to defeat him. Okay, that was him. Featherman said the last paragraph. Okay. Exactly. So you agree that it's fair for us to divide the burden for him? Oh, there it is. Featherman realized. Okay. Also, consider all the mentors you have had in your life. Your father, your uncle, my cousin, the Wonderbolt, Crystal Sage, the Doctor. Each of those amazing ponies contributed some special training in your life. Do you really think they would be proud of you if you took all the power and training and did nothing with it? I mean, you could. You're just capable of using darkness as the light with that power. Since you have done it, it's wise to give some thought in what kind of life you wish to lead with it. Since you're capable of doing something most ponies could not, what will you do when others have the chance to look up to you? It's our chance to shine now, and I think we would do honor those who have helped us train by following their heroic example. You forgot one. You. Featherman pointed out. You are also one of my many blessed mentors. I look up to you as well. Your bravery, kindness, and strong spirit have been inspiring to me. I'm not likely the only one who thinks so. I'm grateful for all that you have given me as well. Even now you are trying to teach me, and it's working. Featherman reached up with his face and kissed the side of Stormy's cheek, making her blush. After that, the two of them snuggled close together, and the rest is unwritten. And they repeated the same thing that they did in the Gender Panther universe. There we go. And that is the end. Okay, so I have to tell you, Quill, I am glad for this last part right here. I am super glad that Stormwing stepped in and basically stopped him from the stupidity. If he were to stop using it offensively, or anyways, stop using the wind, he would not be a feather wind anymore. He would just be a feather in the wind. Featherman said the last paragraph. Oh yeah, that's the last one that you wrote. But yeah, I don't think there was no a lot of chances with the dragon. He was quite angry, and he was probably angry because the fire didn't work. He was so he had faith in his powers. I can imagine an audience reaction to the Featherman's action against the dragon. Some say you did what you had to do, but others might say, I can't believe you did that. I cannot believe you did that. Dragon was also very arrogant. He was not accustomed to a challenge. Yep, because he was one of the first dragons, I assume. He is a big dragon. And you didn't say that he is a dragon lord. I just assumed he can be just a normal dragon who was living alone and taking advantage of the diamond dogs. But yeah, his only chance of talking with him was to present something he might have a chance or he might be interested in. So starting with the crystal would have been his only chance at speaking with the dragon. To show that I can make this. You don't have to enslave the ponies. We can work out a deal. I can make you lots of crystals and we can be friends. We can be... Oh no, that wouldn't work if he called them equals. But yeah, because he was an arrogant dragon. But he might at least listen at that point. There is very little magic to threaten him either. Also, if he showed that to him, then probably he would have been much more curious at first. But he was so focused on him that he didn't even look at the gem when they were flying. He ignored it perfectly. So I have a feeling he didn't even realize that's a gem. It's a what do you call it? It's a pipe view. He could only see Featherwind, nothing else. He doesn't have anything to be dangerous against other than other dragons. So why would he look elsewhere? Nobody's gonna attack him. And nobody who can attack him has any chance of even hurting him. So blind arrogance and blind rage. There we go. So again, his only chance to talk was to prepare the red crystal first. Before even trying to talk to him. Then he would have probably... Oh, what's that? It's a red crystal. That was the only chance. Nothing else. But they didn't know. That they are facing a dragon. At the first time. He just arrived. So, let's just look around. First of all, Vision. Vision is back as an older pony. She is not old, but she became some pony who is not gonna say anything. She is just a vision in the wind. She knows that if she tries to do anything, she is gonna be a god. And that is why she came to this area, not just to have Featherwind and Stormwing. She is probably gonna stay here because nobody is gonna attack her or search for her at this point. Even if they do, they will just see a little filly who is blind. What else do you think about this chapter? Like they are to this time period. And seeing the other vision. Again, that was a good thing. I didn't expect the other vision. I should have expected it that they would do that. Oh, I can't go back to this time period, so I'm gonna drop you back further in time and you will have to wait. That has been done at one point, right? If I'm correct. In the original series of Doctor Who. But that was a long time ago, I don't remember. But Vision is keeping a lot of things to herself. Mainly because everything she sees can be changed. And time with the Doctor changed her vision, let's just say it like that, her inspiration. In In the beginning, she was very keen of changing everything, but sensing what the doctor does, and how much time paradoxes are happening, mainly because of her. It's gonna be her personality changed, and she still loves that Stormwing was there for them. She claims she can teleport through time and space without needing a potion. I didn't even know that but she can brew potions too. She is an OP being. She is a god. She's a goddess right now. She was already powerful to begin with. She has the most expensive, most important magical items as well, like the bag of holding, 2 of them, because money is not enough. And oh wait, I forgot, she can see now. She can see now thanks to the echo glasses. I don't know what we call them, but I just call them echo glasses, which are now built into her eyes. Isn't that right? That happened before. With the doctor. At this point. Yeah, she claims the physical realm no longer challenges her. That's why she's backing off. So Featherwind and Stormwing don't rely on her. And you are wrapping it up at the end that you say every timeline has their own heroes. If she interacted with everything, she would just be doing a god's job. And she doesn't want that. Yes, she has tunnel vision. It has limited range, but it's all around vision. To tell you the truth, normal vision has limited range as well. So that's not new. But yeah. Also, the resemblance to King Sombra. The resemblance to King Sombra is rolling. It definitely shows that Sombra, I'm not really saying King Sombra, Sombra knew of this time period. He already researched this time period where the ponies were not capable of speaking or magic, or they didn't have cutie marks, and they were just ponies. Well, you can see the horizon if you stand on a high cliff, but she sees about 100 feet. Okay, that makes sense. She sees nothing. No, if there's nothing after the high cliff, she sees nothing, only just air. There is nothing the echo would come back from. So if there is a cliff, like let's say there are 2 cliffs, and there is a jump gap, like 2 feet gap, she can see that there is a gap between it. Is that what you are saying? That is what you are saying. And yes, that's a reference to Smile. Oh, that environment can modify the range. Okay. I didn't remember that. But I have to tell you, I like this episode. I didn't expect Starving to be so cruel. To just basically death drop a defenseless being Let's just say it like that. A diamond dog into the abyss. The punching makes sense. But the death drop was brutal. And to knock it all off, definitely Featherwind had to top it all off with his wind powers, his godly powers. But the difference is, Featherwind did not have a chance to do anything else. He had to do the wind power to kill the dragon. But Sterling, she could have been just putting him down or just scare him. Oh, I will drop you and grab him at the end. That's from above. Sterling puts cool shades like a boss. From this, you know what I realized, Quill? If someone kills Featherwind, Sterling can become the new boss here. She can even become villain. She can even get to the dark side. Look at that. Just think about it. What if Celestia called Featherwind's execution? It wouldn't happen, but what if that happened? Celestia would go off with the execution, and then Sterling would probably make havoc all across Celestia because of that. I remember how he once thought he could create a tornado using his emotions. In this chapter, he finally did it. Sterling is not of Sombra's family bloodline, at least not known. Well, she doesn't have to be in Sombra's family bloodline to become a new boss. A new villain. But she is still physically capable of wreaking havoc or breaking many bones before going down. But she is vulnerable to magic. But it's assumed she might have to be a family to use the crystal. I didn't say she would use the crystal at all. I didn't say anything about the crystal. I just said she would become a villain if someone killed Featherwind. Because the rage would take over. Yep, it's a physical force. And how do you deal with physical force? With magic. Or with numbers. That's the two thing. Again, she could have saved that little diamond dog. She didn't. Well, at least the diamond dogs are not gonna come back. We are sure of it, because obviously if a god is helping the ponies, then they have no chance. They know that. That's hard. She's a guardian. Guardian of what? If what she wanted to guard is dead, you know what happens, right? But now it obviously makes sense that she has to guard her daughter. But at this point in time, if the dragon would actually, we are actually talking about that. What would have happened if he didn't use his magic, his natural magic? If the dragon would be able to kill him. In this case, she was guarding the liberty of the Earth Police from the oppression. She would accept the name of a guardian, of the guardian angel, of that. But she would not be just a guardian angel. She would go off and kill every single diamond dog before doing that. To guard the ponies from every other chance. Also, she would go off and kill other, or at least go against the dragons as well. I can see that she would do that. She would probably also give them weapons and forge an army to go against the dragons. Because she knows that she is not capable of doing that alone, to killing them. But we know that in numbers, there is strength. That's another fanfiction. What happened when Featherwind died from the dragon? That's another fanfiction right there. It's another dimension where he chose not to use it because he realized that he is too emotional for this at this point. But yeah, it was a good chapter, and I wanna see how long is the next chapter. It is obviously it's gonna be easier if I see the. It's not that long. Okay. 2. Starming would organize a team. She was team captain of Puffball, which was still not mentioned. What is Puffball at this point? It's is that the thing that is whatever it's called? That is the hidden secret chapter, right? Chapter 21? Wait, no. That's chapter 29 right here. Oh, this chapter 29, okay. My bad. It's 90. You're right. You're right. You are right. You are perfectly right. But I'm not gonna start this. I'm just gonna prepare the next one, which is gonna be tomorrow, if it's okay with you. Tomorrow at the same time. I wasn't gonna do it tomorrow, but seeing how short it is, I can do it. Oh, the origin of magic. I'm just reading it right now when I'm pasting it here. Chapter 20 used to be the longest chapter in the whole book. Now I think it's the second longest, because there are more episodes. Then I think we will make chapter 20 in a two-parter. Predictions for next chapter? Well, the title says it all. It's an origin of magic. And I said it as the beginning. They being there actually causes the magic to burst. Because it's basically a time paradox. They shouldn't be there. at that time. No pony with magic should be at that time period. But they are not the first who entered there. Is their vision. I can see chapter 20 as a 3-parter. Wow, okay. I didn't even see, didn't even check how long it is. Let me see here first. Let me save this, obviously, and here it is. I didn't change too much of it. Only the title, that's fine. There we go. It's about 40 pages. Oh wow, it's 24,000 words. And 21 is 27,000 words. Well, I guess it's gonna be a 3-parter. And there's several good stopping points it though. Okay, but we are gonna do chapter 19 tomorrow. And we will think about what will happen next after that at a later time. We will see how much I will be tired, because tomorrow I will get to work in the afternoon. But now, you know what's gonna happen? I'm gonna end the stream and prepare this right here. Is it gonna be Persona 5? But it's still gonna be Persona. Be warned! I'm warned. About what? I'm waiting. Need to finish watching episode 11 before chapter 21. Which Persona it is? Is it Persona 3 Dancing in Starlight? It's not Persona, but it is Persona at the same time. Because I don't wanna speak too much. I need to rest my voice a little bit. So it's gonna be just a little bit of rhythm games for now. And after that I can get back to Persona 5. But yeah, first I'm gonna eat something. And then I'm gonna do some twitching. That sounds strange when I say it like that. It's a twitching. I'm not sure a bit, but I also sleep soon. Well, it's night for you. But again, thank you for coming here, and see you next time. Bye bye. Tomorrow.